Imagine taking a peaceful morning walk with your grandmother. But what if the quiet path hides something waiting in the mist? A whisper in the wind, a shadow that should not move, and a presence that follows your every step. This is not just a walk through the forest. It's a journey between the living and the lost. Stay till the end, because what happens on that bridge will change the way you see silence forever. One early morning, the pale gray sky hung above the small village. The soft chirping of birds mixed with the gentle breeze passing through the mango trees behind the house. I held my grandmother's hand tightly. Her palm was warm and slightly trembling. The scent of herbs from her clothes brushed against my nose. We were walking toward the old temple on the hill. The path was covered with dry leaves crunching under our feet. Grandma's shoes made a faint dragging sound along the ground. Sunlight slipped through the thick branches, casting a veil of golden light across the trail. I looked at her face, lined with wrinkles but filled with calm. She began telling stories from her childhood, about ghosts guarding this very path. I laughed, but my heart beat faster without reason. The wind started to pick up. The sound of branches rubbing together echoed sharply. A flock of crows flew overhead, screeching long and shrill. The smell of damp earth grew stronger, as if rain was coming, though the sky had not changed. Grandma suddenly stopped walking, her eyes fixed ahead. Grandma suddenly stopped walking, her eyes fixed ahead. Her grip on my hand tightened, the warmth turning into a trembling strain. I followed her gaze down the narrow dirt path that curved deeper into the forest. The morning light that once felt soft now seemed pale and uncertain, struggling to cut through the rising mist that slithered between the trees. "Do you see that?" she whispered, her voice barely a breath. I squinted, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. At first, I saw nothing, just the shadows of trees swaying in the wind. But then, something moved. Something small, and yet, wrong. A figure, perhaps a child, stood in the middle of the path ahead. Barefoot, motionless, their head tilted slightly, as though listening to something deep in the forest. The wind went still. The birds fell silent. I wanted to ask Grandma who it was, but my throat felt dry. She squeezed my hand again and whispered, "Do not speak." Her tone was firm but filled with fear, a kind of fear I had never heard in her before. The figure began to move, slowly, one step at a time. Its pale skin almost glowing against the dark green of the trees. It was too far to see the face clearly, but I could tell something was off about the way it moved. As if every motion came a second too late, as if it was trying to remember how to walk. Grandma took a small step back. I followed her without question. The air grew heavy, pressing against my chest. Each breath felt harder to take, as though the forest itself was watching, waiting. "Grandma, who is that?" I finally managed to whisper. She didn't answer. Her lips moved silently, forming words I couldn't hear. And then she pulled me closer until I could feel her heartbeat against my arm. It was fast, frightened, human. Then, the figure stopped moving. It stood completely still, head slowly turning toward us. The mist swirled, and I saw its face. Not a child's face, at least, not anymore. Its eyes were dark, empty hollows. Its mouth hung open, but no sound came out. Only the faint echo of breathing, my own, shallow and uneven. Grandma whispered again, "Keep walking, slowly, do not look back." I obeyed. My legs trembled with every step. The forest path seemed longer now, the once familiar trail stretching into something strange and endless. Behind us, there was no sound of footsteps, just the faint rustle of leaves, the whisper of air shifting. I wanted to run, to pull Grandma forward, but she moved with such deliberate calm, each step measured, each breath controlled. When we finally reached the old bridge that crossed the stream, Grandma stopped again. Her face was pale, her lips pressed tight together. I looked behind us. The figure was gone. Only the mist remained, clinging to the trees like cobwebs. For a moment, the world seemed to breathe again. The birds began to sing. The wind stirred the water beneath the bridge. I tried to smile, to laugh it off. But Grandma's eyes stayed fixed on the forest. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "It should not be here anymore. Not after all these years." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked down at me, and her eyes were filled with something like sorrow. "When I was your age," she began, "there was a boy who used to play along this path. He lived by the river, near the temple. One day, he went missing. They found his shoes on the bridge. But not him. Never him." A chill ran through me. The story sounded like something out of a dream. But the way she said it, so quietly, so carefully, made it feel real. She continued, "People said his spirit never left. That he waits on foggy mornings for someone to walk with him." The air grew cold again. I could see my breath in front of me even though the sun was higher now. Grandma took a small pouch from her pocket, a tiny cloth bag tied with a red string. She opened it and scattered some white powder into the stream. Her lips moved in prayer. The powder floated, swirling away like smoke on water. Then she said softly, "Now we can cross." We stepped onto the wooden planks of the bridge. Each board creaked under our feet, and the water below seemed darker than before, its surface rippling with unseen movement. Halfway across, I heard something. A faint splash behind us. I turned instinctively, but Grandma's hand shot out and gripped my arm. "Do not look," she said sharply. Her voice was no longer trembling. It was commanding, ancient, powerful. I froze. My heart hammered in my chest. There was another splash, closer this time. Then, a sound like soft footsteps on wet wood. Slow, dragging, coming nearer. The hairs on the back of my neck rose. I could feel it, the weight of something unseen following us. "Keep walking," Grandma said again. We moved faster now, her breath heavy, my knees shaking. The end of the bridge seemed miles away. Each step echoed louder than the last. Until finally, our feet touched solid ground on the other side. Grandma turned, pulled a string from her sleeve, and tied it tightly to the bridge post. It was the same red thread that had bound the pouch. She whispered something to it, words too old for me to understand. Then she let go and exhaled slowly. The wind shifted. A single low moan came from beneath the bridge, like the sound of someone sighing after holding their breath too long. Then silence. Deep, endless silence. We stood there for a long time, watching the mist fade from the trees. The sunlight broke through again, scattering gold across the river. It should have felt peaceful, but it didn't. There was something lingering in the air. A memory, a sadness that refused to leave. "Grandma," I whispered, "was that really the boy?" She didn't answer. Instead, she reached out and brushed my hair back gently. "Some spirits," she said finally, "do not remember they are gone. They only remember they were once loved. And they keep walking, waiting for someone to notice." Her words sank deep into me. I looked back at the bridge, and for a split second, I thought I saw a small figure standing there again, barefoot, head tilted, watching us go. Grandma didn't turn around. She just held my hand tighter, and together, we walked toward the temple, where the bells were beginning to ring. But as we climbed the final steps, a faint echo followed from behind. The soft, dragging sound of footsteps, moving in rhythm with our own. And I realized, the walk with Grandma was not just between the living. When we finally reached the temple gates, the golden statues of the guardians stood tall, glowing in the soft sunlight. The smell of burning incense drifted through the air, calm and steady, wrapping around us like a silent blessing. Grandma led me to the main hall, her steps slow but sure, as if she knew exactly what to do. Monks were chanting inside, their voices low and rhythmic, echoing softly against the old wooden walls. She knelt down before the altar, placed her palms together, and bowed 3 times. I followed her, feeling the coolness of the marble floor against my knees. Then, she reached into her bag again and took out another small pouch. This one wrapped in faded yellow cloth. She placed it gently before the Buddha statue, whispering a prayer that seemed to rise with the smoke of the incense. Her voice trembled, but there was peace in it, like a weight being lifted from her heart. When she finished, she turned to me with a faint smile. "The boy will rest now," she said softly. "He followed us because he was lonely. But now, he knows the way." Outside, the wind began to move again, carrying the sound of temple bells across the hills. The forest that had once felt dark and suffocating, now looked bright and alive under the morning sun. As we walked back down the path, I noticed the leaves no longer crunched beneath our feet. They were soft, damp with dew, as if the earth itself had sighed with relief. When we reached the bridge, I stopped and looked out over the stream. The water was calm, clear, and for the first time, I could see the stones beneath. The red string Grandma had tied still fluttered on the post, but it looked lighter now, almost weightless in the breeze. Grandma, I asked quietly, will we ever see him again? She smiled faintly, her eyes warm and distant. Perhaps, she said, but if we do, it will not be in fear. It will be in peace. We continued walking toward home, the forest whispering gently around us, no longer heavy with silence but filled with life once more. The path that had felt endless now seemed shorter, as if time itself had softened. And though the memory of that pale figure still lingered in my mind, it no longer frightened me. It reminded me instead that not every haunting is meant to harm. That sometimes, even lost souls just seek a way to be remembered. By the time we stepped out of the forest, the sun had fully risen, casting long, golden rays across the fields. Grandma's hand was warm again, steady and sure. She looked ahead, her eyes shining like the morning light. That day, I understood something quietly beautiful. That some walks are not just journeys through the world, but through the unseen spaces between memory and mercy. And as the bells from the temple faded behind us, I knew that the forest, the bridge, and the boy had finally found their silence.